When we pulled up, airplane was on the ground and both engines were full throttle. Unfortunately, we see the worst in humanity. We're so used to helping others that we don't know how to be helped. It's very rewarding knowing that I am fulfilling my purpose in life. So me and Ashley actually met online. I saw that line in her profile, and so my pickup line to her online was, if what you say about motorcycles is true in your profile, I think I'm in love. Here we are a little bit later in life having kids. That's the best way to go into parenthood. It's the biggest year I've ever had in business. And I have no shame in saying that, like, my business caters directly to the fire service. I'm just here to try to be a light in the worst possible day of someone's life.
So we are in Green. You say Green. You guys say it different than I'm going to say it.
Greenville, baby.
Yeah, see, Greenville.
Yeah.
So I say Greenville. So are you originally from Greenville?
I am from Greenville. I'm from a little town called Pelzer, South Carolina, which is right up the road from Possum Kingdom. So that's going to let your viewers know just where you are, my friend. You're in the South.
Okay, so lots of possums there? Or
who knows? I don't know the story behind that. I just grew up knowing that it's right down the road from me.
Okay.
But Pelzer actually shares a county with Anderson, which is now where I currently live.
Right.
We're just right outside the city of Greenville, which, if anybody talks about South Carolina nowadays, the topic of Greenville is going to come up.
Why is that?
Top 5 most desirable places to live, and all kinds of things of that nature that they've made the list for. And it is, honestly, I've been here my entire life. To watch the growth throughout my short lifetime has just been remarkable. I mean, it is not the same Greenville it was 20 years ago.
So are you embracing the growth? Or is it a growth you don't like?
A little bit of background on my fire service career is I spent 8 years working for the city of Greenville.
Okay.
Really got to see the ins and outs of behind the scenes of Greenville. And before my tenure at the city, I probably would have been the guy that was like, there's no way I could ever live in the city and blah, blah, blah. Now, I could see myself living there just because it's grown up a lot. There's so much to do. And that's not talking about like club life.
Right.
I mean, they have really embraced the outdoors in downtown Greenville. Now, am I moving to the city? Absolutely not.
No,
we're still out in the country in Anderson near the lake. And my wife would never have it, which I'm okay with.
Born and raised, South Carolina.
Raised.
Okay. Never thought about moving to another state? Never had an interest?
No. Until I met my wife, Ashley, I hadn't really done a lot of traveling, right? Okay. The farthest I think I'd ever been as far as travel goes was maybe West Virginia, and it was only because my mom's originally from there. I had a grandparent pass away, and to me that was such a culture shock. And so then when I met my wife, we started doing a little bit of traveling, and obviously, and we'll get into it later, with my business, I've gotten to do a good bit of traveling too, and seeing the world. And I go to these places, I've been to like Indianapolis and Colorado, and after about a week's time being somewhere else, I'm like, take me back to South Carolina.
You want to come home?
Take me back home. Take me back, baby. Yeah. So, but my roots are here, right? My family's here. It is all I've ever known, but I love it here. It's attractive because there's a lot of people coming here. I don't know. It's home.
All right. So you mentioned your wife, Ashley. Where'd you meet Ashley?
So me and Ashley actually met online.
Okay.
Before it was as popular as it is now.
Is there a particular app?
It was Plenty of Fish.
Okay. So that's the Christian one, right? That's the more.
I think at the time it was more Christian based.
Has it changed?
I obviously I don't know. I'm not on it, but from hearing some of the young whippersnappers that come around, and I know they have the.
Are you old enough to say whippersnapper?
I am. What the viewers can't see is the young whippersnapper behind the scenes watching us right now.
I was married before there were dating apps, or together with Mindy before there were dating apps.
Well, apparently that's the thing now.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just hard to, and why did you use a dating app?
I think it just makes dating easier.
Less need for working on your pickup lines, and
I think so.
Yeah, having to be out and going to where would you go? Bars? Where do you go?
You're not really going to church to meet a spouse. So if you're going to a bar every weekend to try to meet someone, let's think about that logically for a second. Like, is that the scene you want to set a really? So I don't know.
Or do you just hang out at a grocery store? Just hang out there in the produce section.
Be the weird guy. So I don't know. I think it cut a lot of those type things out, maybe. Ashley was actually the only person that I had talked to on it. Yeah. And so here we are 13 years later.
Well, I'm just a curious person. How does that whole process work? I mean, you set up a date. I mean, is it a swipe left, swipe right kind of thing?
There was no swiping back then. And our story with it was kind of comical because Ashley's profile, one of the lines in there was she loved riding dirt bikes. I have grown up on motorcycles. It is a super passion of mine, or was. Now that I'm older, I don't mess with them as much. But I saw that line in her profile, and so my pickup line to her online was, "If what you say about motorcycles is true in your profile, I think I'm in love." Hey, it worked, right?
It worked.
I got the ring to prove it.
It worked.
She might not agree to that nowadays, but so it's always a comical story when I tell that, because I was just kind of being an idiot and was like, you know what, I'm going to shoot a shot here. And so
that's funny. That's a good pickup line.
Yeah.
How long did you date before you popped the question?
So me and Ashley dated for roughly about a year.
Okay. Did you know, I mean, when did you know? Like, when did you know she was the one?
The thing about Ashley, it was definitely peeling back an onion with her. So Ashley tends to be a little introverted.
Okay.
I, as you can tell, am very extroverted.
I see, yeah.
I remember having a conversation with one of my groomsmen who ended up being in my wedding. As we were dating, I was like, it's like the more I get to know this chick, I don't know, the more I feel like she's who I'm supposed to be with. I like to sometimes say I'm a redneck from Pilsner, and I had a little bit of a background and was a little wild, and I often refer back to this statement I heard one time. I can't remember who exactly told me, but it's so behind every great man is a great woman.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that is one of the truest statements. She's kept me in check a lot throughout our marriage. And I've learned a lot from my wife, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of things that maybe she doesn't even realize, but here we are now, 13 years later with 2 kids. And
13 years is a good long time. What's kind of been a key to your longevity and keeping things going?
Well, I'm going to take it from the husband side of things, and that, for me, what it has taken is a lot of self-discipline, self-reflection, and then self-learning.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know. And so, like, this is even recent. In the last couple years of my life, I've just become a big reader. Some of the best books I've read is on marriage, what you are supposed to be doing as a spouse, and some things you forget. And some of those things are like the little things. There's a lot of things when you've been married for a long time that you forget, right? And it's just simple things like manners. Right? Like you accidentally bump into your wife, and instead of keep walking, you're like, oh, excuse me, or I'm sorry. Like, just the simple little things that you forget.
It's true. You get into this rhythm, and especially when you're in the beginning of your marriage, or even in the beginning of your life, and there's still lots of growth happening. You get into these grooves, these currents, and you forget. You forget to pay attention, to stop and pay attention.
Absolutely. And then you throw kids in that mix.
Oh, I don't even know. I don't know what that's like. So that's got to be challenging.
It is. One of the things I'll say to that, though, when I think about mine and Ashley's marriage is, listen, we're both 37, 38, and I've got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And so in a lot of people's definition, we are older parents, right? We kind of started late. Yeah. But here's the thing that I would say to that is, like, we got to experience things, right? Like, we did do some traveling, not anything crazy, but we did some traveling, we did some living, we, experienced things, just me and her. And so now here we are with all those life lessons. And now here we are a little bit later in life having kids. And honestly, I think that's the best way to go into parenthood, is prepared that way, right? Now, I'm not saying that is the right answer. My baby brother, love him, love his wife. They had kids very young. We did it on the opposite end of that spectrum. We started late, but we were financially, a little bit better off, right? And then
you didn't have that to contend with, 100%. Because that does cause a lot of problems. If you only have to focus on your marriage and your kids, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. If you have to focus on your marriage, your kids, and your finances, that's just a third thing that causes problems.
Young parents, please take no offense to that statement. I'm only speaking to my life. And listen, having kids late, it keeps you young.
Right?
It keeps you young. I've had to readjust, because once you get into those late 30s, you start to feel things a lot more, and so to me, it keeps us young.
Yeah,
so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we are in House 13.
Yeah.
Is that the
Belmont Fire Department?
That's how you say it?
Yeah.
Right. So you're a fireman, and how long have you been a fireman?
Yeah, so I have been a firefighter. This is my 14th year.
Wow.
Was recently promoted to lieutenant.
Okay.
Which is cool. So this is my 6 month.
So what does that mean to be a lieutenant?
Yeah, so the fire service is paramilitary, right? So you have, your grunts, so to speak. Those are definitely military terms.
Those are enduring terms.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So it's, in the fire service would be your firemen. We call them tailboards. So those are obviously your newer guys. And I shouldn't say newer guys. Some people just want to be a fireman and they stay a fireman. And every department is different as far as their rank structure goes. But here at Belmont, you have a firefighter. Then you have what's called an engineer, which is your driver. And a lot of times your senior guy. As a matter of fact, Gordon Smith, who's on my shift today, he's been doing this for 40 something years. He's been doing it since they had horse-drawn carriage. Okay, let's just put it that way. Love the guy.
That's not an age joke at all.
It is not
at all.
Not even close. And then you have an officer, right? So which is your lieutenant. From there, you would be a captain.
So different levels of responsibilities. So the engineer, what just drives? I mean, what's
no?
The,
so
I can't say just drives.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, people that aren't familiar with the service, they wouldn't know. But to me, like the engineer role is one of the most pivotal, right? You got to make sure everybody's on the truck. First of all, you got to make sure we get there safely, and then their responsibility when we get on scene. Let's say it's a house fire. I mean. The fire truck's our lifeline, right?
So they're making sure everything's working.
Making sure it works. We got everything we need.
But they're not in the firefight.
They're not. No, they're typically outside. I mean, there are eyes on the outside, right? Like we do a lot of training within the fire service. Like you can tell by reading smoke and things of that nature. Like, hey, this is getting hairy, and my guys on the inside need to be made aware that this is getting unsafe, right? Like let's take a back seat here, or hey, looks like you're getting a hold of things, but they're the eyes on the outside.
Now, are you guys technically paramedics too? What's the difference there?
So I am actually an EMT, and EMT. Here at Belmont, we don't have any paramedics just because it's not required. There are different stations throughout the county that have paramedics, but here in Greenville, we have Greenville County EMS, which run hand in hand with us.
Okay.
And they house a lot of your paramedics. They also have EMTs, primarily in Greenville County.
What's the difference between the two, EMT and paramedic?
So EMT obviously is your lower level emergency medical technician. Then when you get into paramedics, you start dealing with things like drugs, right, and IVs and things that I'm just not allowed to do,
right?
Per DHEC and per state laws, like I can't push drugs, I can't start an IV. Paramedics they amaze me, right, because I get to witness it firsthand, exactly what they can do. Big shout out to Greenville County EMS, awesome partners within the fire service and working hand in hand with Greenville County EMS. So love a lot of those people.
Are they generally first on scene? Are they a little before you generally, or does it?
No, I mean
proximity.
So the concept, at least in the county, is depending on the area you're in. So like let's take Belmont's area for example. We're 4.2 square miles. We used to be 9 square miles, but things like...
I mean, we passed 3 fire stations on the way here.
Right. But so if a call goes out in our area, we're going to act as first responders. Typically, we're going to be there first, but we're so close to the hub of Greenville County EMS that they're not far behind us.
Okay.
Now, you get out into the outskirts of Greenville County, that's why you see first responders and EMTs on a lot of the fire trucks within the county, just as I like to call us glorified hand holders sometimes, And now, things like cardiac arrest and stuff of that nature, we are trained and we are ready to step in and do what we can and to help in the event of a cardiac arrest. But a lot of things that require drugs and certain aspects of a paramedic's world, we can't do a lot. Our goal is to sit there, monitor the situation until we can get a medic on scene.
I see.
And then we go from there.
So obviously when there's a fire, that's your business, everybody get out of your business. But when there's a car accident, right, you've got, what's your responsibility? What's your role in an accident situation? Because usually you're dealing with it. The first thing is a person injured. You're going to deal with that
first and foremost is exactly what you said. How many people do we have injured? And we're working with two different agencies at that point, because we're working with law enforcement, right? Because they got to be on the scene, and then we're still working with our EMT paramedics, EMS side of things. Typical fender bender, we're there, control traffic, make sure nothing further happens, right? Making sure the car isn't going anywhere, or if we can, moving them out of a roadway just to make the scene safe. When it gets into extreme situations is, you pull up on scene and somebody's actually got to be cut out of the car.
Yeah,
and then that's where we go to work, extricating people, victims, whatever the case may be. And then it's just all hands on deck working together to make sure we get them out of the vehicle and then start getting them the medical attention that they need, whatever that may be.
In 14 years, what's one of the hardest things that you came up against that was tough for you?
There are friends of mine that are going to watch this and going to be like, I can't believe you brought it up. But to date, one of the craziest incidents that I've been a part of, my engine at the time I was working for Greenville City, we were first on scene for a plane crash.
Oh boy.
Things like that is, once in a career type calls.
Yeah.
We pull up on this thing. It was a twin jet engine airplane, had 4 passengers, had 2 pilots and 2 passengers. They were stopping in Greenville to pick up 2 more friends. They were going to Nantucket for the weekend. Plane comes down on the runway. They're going too fast. Pilots try to hit the brakes. Wasn't enough to stop the plane. Runs straight off the end of the runway into basically the roadway. Thank God nobody was, coming down the roadway at that time. But when we pulled up, airplane was on the ground, essentially broken half, if I remember it correctly, and both engines were full throttle. I tell you what, it was so loud that we were on scene for roughly 10 minutes before I realized I had left the sirens on the truck.
Wow.
Yeah, I had my officer tap me and go, hey, I think you can go cut those sirens off now. Unfortunately, 2 pilots didn't make it, but the 2 people that were in the back of the plane, they did survive. They were from Florida, and actually they come up every year. They had for up until probably last year. I'm not there anymore, but they used to come up every year. And as a thank you to all the firemen, they'd rent out the ice rink downtown for a day for the firemen and their family.
Wow.
And it was one of the craziest calls I've been a part of, just because it's one of those calls that you're like, man, this is something you see on the news. Like, this isn't, and to be the first truck there, watch it all unfold and try to figure it out. Because again, all the training in the world can't set you up for something you just don't see every day. Or honestly, something you don't think you're ever going to see in your career.
Yeah.
The other hard part of this job is, like, you sometimes see the worst in humanity. You definitely have to learn how to cope with it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a lot of us get into this because we're here to help, and we're here to be a helping hand and hopefully a shining light in somebody's day.
I'm always curious about how people in your line of work compartmentalize some of the things that you see. You mentioned you see people at their worst,
right?
And even like you mentioned, the stuff that's not very pleasant. Afterwards, is there any sort of afterglow from it that it's hard to put it aside and then go home to your family?
Yeah. The thing within the fire service right now, there's a big push on mental health. We in the fire service, you do exactly that, what you said. You tend to compartmentalize things. The unfortunate part is, I think we as a service are still figuring out how to deal with it, all right? Because I don't know that there is a right answer. One of the core answers that I can give you right now is, like, we're so used to helping others in our line of work that we don't know how to be helped. But what we then realize is, once we reach out for help, whether that's through counseling or just a peer support group or whatever the case may be, it does actually help you. It's easier to talk to someone that's in that world, has maybe had similar experiences, versus, and take no offense to this, but the rest of the world.
Yeah, I'm in the rest of the world. Yeah.
And listen, especially, those of us that are married with children, man, you can't take it home with you, right? I know Ashley, over the years, she's probably picked up on when I've had bad days at work and whatnot, but we tend to feel like it's our burden to care, or to carry.
Yeah.
And you don't want to put that off on your spouse.
Yeah.
You don't want to put that off on definitely don't want it bleeding over into your how you are around your kids and whatnot. So like it's a balance.
Do you feel like this is what you were meant to do? Be a fireman?
Absolutely. It's very rewarding to sit here knowing that I am fulfilling my purpose in life.
That's awesome.
Because I think, man, I mean, I've encountered a lot of people that even are my age and still don't know. I have no family in the fire service. I have no family ties to the fire service. But what I did get to witness growing up is watching my dad help other people when he didn't have to. For whatever reason, I just resonated with that.
Yeah.
And so shortly after high school, you know, I didn't know much about the fire service. I discovered the fire service as a whole. That's when I started volunteering. And then I realized you could do it for a living. But those first, you know, few months and seeing what it truly meant to help someone in a time of need, I don't know, it just resonated with me. I was like, this, for the first time in my life, I felt purpose.
So let's talk about your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you took a chance on.
Yeah.
I think it's probably being a fireman is probably a perfect job to have too, because you mentioned before we turned the cameras on, that you're on a 48-96 schedule.
Yep.
So explain what that means.
Yes. So about a year and a half ago now, our department, you know, we went to 48-96. So that's 2 days on, 4 days off. Now, 2 days at work can be a long time sometimes, but those 4 days off, you know, you're getting 1 full day to recoup, and then you still got 3 days to go to live and be normal, be present. I've been very blessed that for the last year of our family's life, we've all been home together. My wife took a year off of work with the new coming of her son Levi, who's now a year old. They actually the wife goes back to work and they start school next week, so I don't know how I'm going to handle that. But it's been a blessing getting to live this 48-96 schedule with my family home, because, like, you know, I feel present.
And it also allows you that opportunity, a decent amount of time to invest time in the business, which most people only get the weekends to invest in their business that they're doing, 2 days to invest in it. You get 4 to focus on your family and the business. So what is the business?
Yeah, so 6 years ago, as a matter of fact, I've got some props here for you.
Some props.
So I was working at Greenville City at the time, and my crew, our captain at the time of the station, he had gotten us all a gift. And as a matter of fact, this is the gift.
Okay.
And so
it's a piece of hose.
It is a piece of hose. This is retired hose, and 266 was my unit number at the time.
Okay.
And so, funny side story here. I've been telling people for years that wherever my captain bought this from, I felt like he got gypped, because whoever made this, they just took a Sharpie and wrote our number on it. I didn't find out until about 2 years ago that my poor little captain was sitting in the office writing. He did it, and he never told me that. And so shout out to Jay Krause. It was actually him who did it, and I don't even know who made, where he bought these. So I can't take the heat off of whoever made these.
Which is, it's a koozie too.
But it's a koozie. Right? It's a koozie, and so he gave us these. We were all very thankful. These are awesome. But I'm sitting there that night and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, God, this could be so much better. I saw the whole Sharpie thing, and I was like, I knew nothing about embroidery. I knew nothing about how I could make this better, but I just knew it could be better. And one thing in the fire service is we love hats. It's just our go-to. You know, you wake up on your second day on shift and you got sleep head, you just throw a hat on. But we just love them. We're outside a lot, right? So long story short, I get this idea of, like, I am gonna try my best to put some hose on a fire hat. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it. About a week later, I tell my wife, get in the car, I'm going to buy an embroidery machine. Now, she obviously gives me the look of, like, what is this kookamame? What are we doing now? You know, because I'm an entrepreneur. I get ideas all the time.
I get those looks a lot too, by the way.
So yeah, absolutely. So we drive up to Spartanburg, South Carolina, and I buy this $500 embroidery machine from this little lady. And she's, honey, what are you going to do with this? And I was like, ma'am, I don't know yet, but I am going to try to make some money with this thing. A week from that day, this is the first ever hat that I ever made, which, you know, hopefully this thing will be worth a lot of money one day, it being the first one.
Yeah.
My friends used to make fun of me. They called it arts and crafts time, because, used to, I'd be at it with Elmer's glue trying to figure, and you can see these things are janky but the idea was born. West's Broad Apparel Company.
West Broad.
Yep. That name come about. So again, when I was working at the city, the original downtown headquarters, which opened its doors in 1938, you'll see us put 1938 all over things here and there. They called it the West Broad Station. And so it was on West Broad Street, downtown Greenville.
Okay.
Really cool. I can't not mention this. At the time, my business partner, who's still with me in the business, Joe, he worked at the city as well. And so as we're thinking about the name, Joe kind of drops the name on it. He's like, look, I got a name. He's like, but we're going to have to get permission to use it. And I was like, permission from who? The permission had to come from roughly 20 guys at the city that were going to use the West Broad name for a Fools chapter. And so those that don't know, when you start a Fools chapter within a department, it's basically a training chapter.
Okay.
And so Joe was like, look, I don't think we should use the name unless we get permission from all these guys. Every single one of them said yes, that we could use the name. That's and I'm awesome. Still super proud. I hope I'm doing them proud even 6 years later. To represent that name. And so that's where that name was born. At the end of the day, what we wanted to do with that name is listen, I can take you to any firehouse. We'll just go within our, 20-mile radius, especially over here at the city. And I can introduce you to a guy that's been doing this longer than I've been alive. I can take you over to the city and take you to a certain guy and say, hey, tell me some stories about the West Broad Station that isn't in existence anymore. That station doesn't exist. And this guy is going to light up like Christmas. He's going to tell you how things used to be, and it is going to make you wish you could have been a part of it. The premise behind that name was we have a duty to keep those stories going, to keep those names alive.
I love that.
Yeah. And so the fire service is built on so much tradition. And, things like what we're doing right now, respecting the front bumper. This is a sacred part of an apparatus right here. This is where world problems get solved.
Yeah. I feel lucky.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to be smoking a cigar or something.
Another one of our values is always coffee. Right? Coffee is a staple in a firehouse. I don't care where you go, here, California, wherever, they're going to be drinking coffee.
What's funny is I only had 1 cup of coffee this morning before I was like, I know I can get some coffee there. I know I'll be able to get some coffee.
No doubt. So I started the business on taking fire hose and then allowing the end user, which is firemen, to customize it. Now, that was a huge undertaking, right? How do I get firemen to me, in front of me, or in front of my website, and allow them to put their own number? Or like I told you, this was my unit number.
Yeah.
As you see on the hat, this is the newest. This is Hose Hat 2.0, right? These are some of the new ones. I'm now at House 13. How do I get end user there? And so it started from there. I knew I had a uphill battle, right, to make that happen. And I have no shame in saying that, my business caters directly to the fire service. I am as niche as they come. But we went from making these in a spare bedroom in my house at the time to, I landed a couple of department orders, which I had I couldn't make it with my $500 machine. And then that's where my brother Joe Crawford come into the mix. Joe Crawford was one of the first men in my life that said, hey, he handed me some money in a parking lot and said, listen, I'm not making this investment in the business, I'm making it in you. Listen, in business, partnerships don't typically work out, right? It's a hard thing. But man, when you have a good balance of somebody that cares about your family more than the bottom line, cares about your mental well-being versus the business's well-being, all that, it meshes so well. I couldn't do it without him. Here we are 6 years later. We're on track, and 2025 is already going to be, it's the biggest year I've ever had in business. Now we're doing what we call our Fire T-shirt initiative. T-shirts in the fire service have been popular for years, but what's happened over the years is it's become a headache logistically. So if you were a fireman and you had 12 people in your department, and that's an easy number, right? You got 12 different people you got to get sizes for. You got to get their money. You got to get the designs together. You got to find a printer. We eliminated all that. Not to sell shirts, but to bring firehouse pride back by wearing your station on your back. Now firemen can bring us their design. We throw it on our website. We host it for them. We shoot them a link, and it's done. It's easy. We're about a year into that. We started out with 2 or 3 that were interested. we're closing in on 100 fire departments all over the country that have
so
taken
you're
us up on that.
specifically to fire departments. You're not to the general public. So I wouldn't be able to get one of those.
No. You can all day still buy it. Don't mistake me. Now, the reason I think we don't really resonate with general public is the story I just told you. They have no idea what the passport means. I'm okay with it just being our thing. Our goal at the end of the day when it comes to our business is to have a hose hat on every firefighter in America.
That's cool.
So that's what we're working toward.
I love it. I like to relate my purpose in life to God. I think God gives us our unique gifts and our purposes, right? Do you feel that way as well? And what is your relationship with spirituality and God?
You know, this is Russell's opinion. In the 14 years I've been doing this, you know, the journey with God has been it's been tough, man. Like I told you earlier, unfortunately we see the worst in humanity right in front of our face. It's not on the screen. We're having to deal with it. It's a battle to stay connected because it's very easy to let the devil win, right? When you're out here dealing with some of the things we deal with. And so I'm not going to sit here and act like my walk is one to be modeled after. But here's what I will say, and I'm going to take this one back to our marriage for a bit. One thing that has been a constant in mine and Ashley's life is being involved with the church. For us, it's another avenue of serving. I run sound, she plays in the band. But not only that, the relationships that we have built, for crying out loud, Danielle practically raised my son Benjamin for the first 2 years in his life. He calls her Aunt Danny.
Yeah.
And it was because of church. It was because of God, right? I know I'm saying church a lot, but it is pivotal, I think, in our line of work to stay grounded with faith. It tests your faith, but if you can find a way to always come back to it, right? And you almost have to forgive yourself of not being as connected as you want to be, right? Because it's just tough, man.
What makes it tough?
I think just what
you see, what you witness. One
of the words I tried to use one time when I was having this very conversation was like the sense of realism, right? It becomes real when things are happening in front of you, when things you don't have answers for. And one of the biggest things I love about Jesus is, you know, he was respected, he was an honest man, and he tried to help people. All three of those things I try to model. I try to model it within my career. I try to model it at home for my sons, for my wife. And what I've found is, you know, the closer you are to him, the easier some of these burdens get. I think it helps with how you interact with people. I think it helps with, again, that sympathy meter that has been broken for me for a while.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I think of when I think about my career and where it's at today, is that I'm just here to try to be a light in the worst possible day of someone's life. I love to run the granny that's at home by herself that has fallen, and my goal at every single one of those calls is to bring a smile to their face. Human to human interaction that people like that need. They're at the end of life, they feel like they have nobody, and you got one shot. You can either walk in there, do your job, and walk out and not affect them in any kind of way, make them feel like they were a burden to your life, or you can get them laughing. You can ask them what time they're coming up here for dinner. Some of the most incredible conversations I've had in my life is talking to older people who have lived life and just listening. That to me is what's rewarding about this job.
Final question we ask everybody.
Here we go.
What do you do to get away from it all? What's your break from the grind?
Yeah, I hunt.
Okay.
I am a avid duck hunter. Love it. I fell in love with duck hunting roughly 4 years ago. This is going into my 5th season doing it. Love it. We're coming up. It's getting close. But I'll tell you the biggest one. This is my thing. Running. It started yesterday. I'm actually training for a half marathon in October. And I never would have dreamed that I would find solitude and peace, and I can't even explain it, but
you don't have to. I've been taking up running too. No, I've been taking it up too. I totally love it.
Running,
totally love running.
That, and then one other is hiking. I've never been a hiker, and so aside from running a little bit, I love to get out there when the weather's right and hike and just get out in nature. I think God provided us with this earth that we're on, and I don't think it's common practice to get out and enjoy it anymore. And so to go lose yourself in the woods and like just, I'm getting cold just thinking about it. I got to go hiking anymore. I love it, but no, I'm a big golfer too. I love golf. I picked it up after high school, and I enjoy it's on you, right? Golf's not necessarily a team sport. I love that. I love mentally you got to be there for yourself, and I can't wait for my sons to get older. I hope to instill that with them, because I think golf is one of those sports that you can do with your son later in life, right? By the time I'm 75, I don't think riding a dirt bike and hitting up the hills and stuff like that's going to be kosher with my son, but we can go hit up a golf course and spend time together. And when I think about the things I love to do now, that's one aspect of it, is like what can I do with my sons throughout the rest of our life if I'm blessed enough to be here for it. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Where can people learn more about your business?
Yeah. So westbroadapparel.com. That's our website to kind of know a little bit about our hats and how we make them, stuff like that. You could go to hosehat.com. It'll walk you through the process of how to build one if you get interested and want to go build one. And if you're a fireman watching this, stationtees.com is where you can find more about the firehouse tees I was talking about earlier and what we do there.
And all those links will be in the description, so people can just click on that stuff. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing
I didn't talk
your
too
story.
Much,
no, we love it. It was great. You gave us so much insight on things that I've always been curious about. So thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
I'm glad you did. Yeah.
Yep.
From the heart of Greenville, South Carolina, Russell found his calling not just as a firefighter, but as a man deeply rooted in a purpose to serve. His story is a testament to the powerful lessons he's learned in the fire service and the unwavering drive of an entrepreneur. It's an incredible reminder that home is more than just a place. It's the legacy you can build your life upon with the people that you love the most. Thank you, Russell, for sharing your story, and thank you to the Belmont Fire Department for allowing us to spend a morning with Russell and the crew. Until next time, thank you for watching.